And then you have your off time. Off time means off, off. It means I don't have my phone, I don't have my computer. I'm with you, the whoever it is that I'm with my family. When I'm at home, I want to be with my wife. I want to be with my children. I want to be, and if I'm in my community, I want to be with my community. Wherever I am, I want to be there. So that off means off, off. That means not a phone, not a cell. Okay, we all keep our phones sometimes. Turn over, turn off, and get present. That is a present that we can give. So on time, off time, and then prep time. Prepare to be off. Take some time towards the end of the day to prepare for leaving.
Welcome to the Turning Point Podcast, where business growth meets personal development. We know as leaders and business owners, you're juggling a lot, and we've spent decades creating the best systems, tools, and shifts that bring you unimaginable success in your business and tremendous satisfaction in your personal life. That's just how we thrive around here. And now, here's your host, John Goldman, here to guide you to your own turning point. Let's get started.
Hi, welcome to the Turning Point Podcast. My name is John Goldman, and today I'm here talking with Sippy Gross, who is a Turning Point mentor, and we're going to be talking about some of the biggest challenges that leaders face that nobody is talking about. Come on, let's get started.
John, when you look at an owner, a leader, an executive, you see results, you see all this incredible stuff they're putting out, and you don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. You really look at them for leadership, you look at them for guidance, but what's really going on?
People look at the result and they don't realize the years and years they stayed up late at night and the anxiety that they took out when they took out a loan and the challenge and they took responsibility to not come home at night until the job was done. And they don't know what it's like until saying, "Oh yeah, honey, I'll be home in about 20 minutes." And then they start answering email and another email, and it's like, "Oh no, it's been 45 minutes and it still takes another 20 minutes to get home." And you walk in and your wife is like, "You said you were going to be home 20 minutes ago." "I know, I meant I was going to leave 20 minutes and then but it was really a half hour." So, no, but and then suddenly they're arguing about whether it's a half hour, whether it's 45 minutes, and the issue is not the issue. The issue is a sense of ownership. And it's really challenging being a real leader and real owner because I'm from St. Louis and from Missouri. And in Missouri, we have one hero, which is Harry Truman, because he had something on his desk that says, "The buck stops here." And when you're the leader, the buck stops here. And that's when you take ownership and you take responsibility as opposed to shifting it to someone else. So I think the challenge is how do you get results and also be human?
Yeah, how do you? I mean, there's so many pieces. Like the buck, well, you do feel the sense that the buck stops here on so many levels.
Okay,
How are you supposed to do it all?
right. So um, part of it is getting clear about ego, and part of it is getting clear about what is your job, what is not your job.
Whoa, okay, let's talk about this ego thing because that is not something I've heard a lot about.
So meaning ego, I don't own the outcome. I might think that I do, but I don't. I only own the actions that I can control. And so, for example, when it comes to sales, if you want to have 4 sales, so that means you have to produce 12 proposals. To have 12 or you have to write 10 you have to write 10 contracts. In order to write 10 contracts, you may have to have 18 proposals. To get 18 proposals, that means you have to have 31 sales conversations. You have 31 sales conversations, mean you have to send out X amount of emails, and you have to generate a certain amount of leads. So we actually don't own the results. We think that we do. It's fake. It's false. We don't. We're lucky. Yes, there's all sorts of what I would call Machiavellian strategies and tactics, but we don't own the world, nor we can actually produce an outcome. We can try, and there are many things based on the law of the land, based on the way that the world works, that if you do certain things, if you try hard, you tend to get luckier. My dad always said, the luckiest guy is the one that tries the hardest. That's true, and it's also not true. I know many, many people who are very wealthy, and they're not very bright, and they haven't worked very hard. I know many people that they're very smart, and they've worked very hard, and they're not very wealthy. So the two don't necessarily add up. And so I guess what I'm saying is that the inner world of being a leader requires the risk of taking responsibility and knowing that the actions I take don't necessarily produce an outcome and being okay with that. It's a crazy line. To me,
Yes.
the line that I've learned is that I have to act like all my actions make a difference, but in a certain sense, my experience of it is they really don't. Of course, they make a difference. Of course, if you try hard. And you never know. Oh my gosh, you never know. And how many times in my certainly in my life, I've had things that have come through the left door or left field. And so that's the paradox to live in as a leader.
And so much I think of your self-worth is tied into the results that you're generating. So, I mean, I didn't even think about that as we were preparing for this episode because we were discussing the anxiety that leaders have and the loneliness and so many of the challenges that they go through that people wouldn't even know about. Just talk to me about the inner world of an owner, a leader. What are they going through each day?
Um, you ever seen those bumper stickers? I'd rather be fishing. What happens with so many leaders is that they've always got an inner bumper sticker in their head saying like, I have to do this. What about this proposal? What about this employee? What about this contract? What about this? Oh, I got to get back to them. And when they're at home, they're thinking about work. And when they're at work, they're thinking about at home. And oftentimes they're present, but not present.
Yeah,
So many times they show up physically and a woman says to her husband, like, I know you're home, but hello, are you there? And so I had a thing called a worry tree. You know what a worry tree is?
no, tell me.
I had two stages of coming home. I'd be a block away, and if I was still on the phone, I would park outside of my neighbor's home, and then I would finish up my phone call, take a deep breath, drive a block because I don't want to be too close to my house, drive a block to my house, and then I would get out, park the car, and start walking towards my home. And there was a tree on the left-hand side, and I take a deep breath, and I hang all my worries on the tree. And so
Wow.
have a snack before I would go in so that when I'm home, I'm home, home. When I'm at work, I'm at work, work. And so there's three types of zones that everyone needs to work on, also found within the habit module. Habit is happiest and best use of time. So that's your on time, your off time, and your prep time. On, off, prep. On time means that you're on doing your habit, your happiest and best use of time, where you get the biggest return on investment that only you can do better than anybody else. And that's the time that's rock star time. That's the time whether you're an accountant, whether you're doing forensics, whether you are doing insurance, whether you are running a company, whether you're having a meeting, whatever it is that you're doing, that's your rock star time. That's on time. And then you have your off time. Off time means off, off. It means I don't have my phone, I don't have my computer. I'm with you, whoever it is that I'm with my family. When I'm at home, I want to be with my wife. I want to be with my children. And if I'm in my community, I want to be with my community. Wherever I am, I want to be there. So that off means off, off. That means not a phone, not a cell. Okay, we all keep our phones sometimes. Turn it over, turn it off, and get present. That is a present that we can give. So on time, off time, and then prep time. Prepare to be off. Take some time towards the end of the day to prepare for leaving. Straighten up your office, figure out most leaders who are really, really doing a good job, sometimes they don't have an office. All they have is they might have a desk somewhere they work, and they have an assistant who works with them. And then that assistant helps them clean it up, either digitally or physically, and that's when they do their offloading. And then preparing to be off so that I'm going to be off for a number of days. And the way to be off is it's like a weaning process. When a mother is weaning their child, she just doesn't suddenly stop nursing. She stops nursing a little bit, introducing a little bit of foods, nursing a little bit more, introducing more foods. Eventually, the child is eating whole foods. So too, if you want to build your freedom and reduce the dependency on you as the leader, so you want to have a weaning process where you've simplified and codified and multiplied what you do, and then you take off a day, and then 2 days, and then 3 days, and then a week. Dave and Tracy Canella, when we went off site once, Tracy drew an image of her business, and she had a pair of binoculars there, and she was always looking at all the different things and all the people at the table. And then she realized, I've got a job. I don't have a business. Everything was so dependent on her. And like they never really took off any real time. So then Dave and Tracy, they started building something called a Scrum board, which is for another time. It's essentially Scrum, and it's a process of what is backlog or what do we need to do? What are we doing? And then where is it stuck? And what are we going to do? And so every day they would get together and they'd say, what did we do? And what's in our to-do pile? And they would move them across the board. Okay, here's what we're doing right now. And here's what happened. And then here's what I'm going to be doing next. And then if you work with other people, it's also what is the where you're stuck or where's the opportunity. So it's called a Scrum meeting. In my opinion, is one of the best meetings you could ever have. And Scrum, no,
Wow.
it doesn't stand for anything. Scrum, it comes from rugby. It means that it's at the very beginning. Both teams come together like this, and those that work together quickly and tightly, they're able to move forward. So it's a way to do twice as much in half the time. So if we take a look at the model that we're speaking about, on time, off time, and prep time, the mistake is most people, they mix up their types of time. Like sometimes I'm on, sometimes a little bit preparing, sometimes I'm not cleaning up. So we want to prepare to be off. We want to prepare to be on. You want to know your zones of on time. Most people have a circadian rhythm. That means certain times during the day is their higher energy. And during that higher energy period, they want to be most productive. In my business, we call it the golden hour. There's a certain golden hour that is your most productive hour. And you want that to be, at least in my zone, it's early in the morning, somewhere between 8 in the morning and noon. That tends to be the best for me. Or sometimes between 6, 7, somewhere in that zone. Now, if you just start checking your emails during your golden hour or your prep time, you're going to waste it. So you want to prepare before you go into your golden hour, before you go into your high production time. That thing that it requires deep work. Most people don't have the time, take the time to really do their deep work. And that's where the big return on investment is. So in order to do that properly, you got to prepare to do that. And then I have a hat that says my thinking cap. And I also have a sign on my door that, in production right now. So that means I'm
Mm.
thinking, don't bother me. Certain times I'm on, certain times I'm off. And one of the mistakes that leaders make is, they really want to be accessible and available. So like, I have an open door policy. That's the
Yeah.
stupidest thing in the world.
I love that you're saying that.
An
Tell me
open door,
more.
right? I mean, if you have an open door policy, that means that you're never going to focus. However, if you have a closed door policy all the time, that means people are going to vomit all over you. What does that mean? To have people vomit all over you? That means that whenever you have a meeting, people are going to be, wait, Mike, I want to talk about this. Mike, I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about something strategic. Oh, yeah, and I want to talk about that email I sent you the other day. And Mike, we got to do this right now. It's a production. So wait a minute. You're totally screwing this whole thing up. As a leader, we want to have on time, off time, and prep time. And there's preparation time. That means during our meetings, we want to prepare for our meetings, have an agenda for the meeting, and then have a follow-up for the meeting. So this on time, off time, prep time is before you do your highest and best use of time work or your happiest and best use of time work. And then afterwards, so when you're off, you're off. And then in terms of the meetings themselves, so that's part of the habit unit. In terms of the meetings themselves, the biggest mistake that so many of the leaders make is because they want to have help. They want to get things done. More typically, we are more talented than other people in the business because you're the leader of the business. That's why they're leader.
Right.
However, the only way to really become free, less anxious, and reduce the dependency on you is to build up others. And the way that we do that is you don't want people to be grabbing at you. And so therefore you want to have impact hours. An impact hour is I'm going to meet with this person and it's the biggest impact I can make during that hour. And let's clear what are their KPIs, what are their key performance indicators, and ask them 3 questions. What did you do? What are you doing? And what are you going to do? And then regarding what you're going to do, where's your issues and where are your opportunities? Those 3 questions are incredibly powerful. You can do them while you're standing up. You could do it without chairs. I know some people, they do it in 10 minutes. They just go around the room. Here's what I did. Here's what I'm doing right now. Here's where I'm stuck, or here's where my opportunities are. So that means that there's quick feedback. And when you have fast feedback, so everything rocks, as opposed to, let's do an annual review. I want to vomit. If I hear annual review, I want to vomit. Annual review. I don't remember what I had yesterday for breakfast. How am I supposed to remember what you did in January 10 months ago? I had no idea. So we want to increase the speed of the feedback loop. So by you being such a nice guy or a nice woman, by wanting to have an open office and provide an annual review, you're doing the biggest mistake in the world. It's like telling you what, do I love you? Yes, I love you. We've been married for 24 years. Don't, but can't you say I love you? I wash your clothes. I give you children. I know, but can't you say I love you? I've been washing your clothes and I've been serving you meals and I've been with you all this time. I know, but can't you say I love you? Yes, I love you. And we want to tell them along the way, which means fast feedback. We want to increase the speed of the feedback loop. So what a lot of leaders do, they make a mistake. And here's the mistake. it's it's the slowness of the feedback. So here's what fast feedback looks like. Fast feedback looks like, here's what you did, here's what you did well, here's what you can improve, and here's how you could do it better. So they're very different. So when we do this with leaders, first you take the subordinate, if you will, and let's say that he's worked for a landscaping company. And this whole zone that we're talking about right now is called fast feedback loops. And in a fast feedback loop, we want to create a leader as opposed to a follower. So how do we create a leader? We want them to think like a leader, and we want to, again, use our checklist, an operations card, and we also want to use our thinking. So the art and the science of leadership. So now, how does that work? Let's say that I'm a landscaper. And what did I do? My job is plant some trees and I want to plant some trees because that's been our job. Job here says we got to plant 6 trees in the Macaulay driveway, outside the Macaulay driveway. All right. I drive up my truck, I plant my trees, and I leave. So now that's what he did. So we asked the person himself, "What did you do? And is there anything that you could do better?" Well, yep, I could have hosed the driveway, and I could have put everything back, and I could have also let her know that we were leaving instead of just driving away. And oh yeah, I could have put on one of those magnet things that you guys give us to say, "Oh, look who had their lawn done the other day." So I know if we hang those magnet things, then we get more business. But I don't think about it. I don't think about that kind of stuff. And so you ask the worker, you ask your teammate, what did you do and how could you do it better? As opposed to, here's what you did wrong. Totally different mistake.
And
So
what is the slow feedback? What was you said there's slow feedback?
slow feedback is that later on when I do my annual review, I'm going to tell you what you did right and wrong.
Yeah.
And then the other part is, let me tell you what I think that you did well, and then let me tell you what I think you could do better. This is the positive feedback loop, and this is the fast feedback loop. And we have a very simple form that I'm happy to share the form. The form is a fast feedback loop. It's what did I do well? What could I do better? What I think you did well as the leader, and what I think you could do better. And this whole thing changes the whole game because now we're thinking about how to develop a leader as opposed to a follower. And you're getting the person to self-reflect as opposed to me being a cop. I'm now more of a coach. I'm bringing out from the other person. It's a big Indian. It's a big concept.
And I know that there are like these coaching tips or leadership tips that you provide are like such gold. And I was thinking before, as I was listening to you when you were speaking about on time and off time and prep time and worry time and impact hours, and it just like as a leader or an owner, it's like, how do I even implement that? How do I even know what they are? How do I know what my highest and best use of my time is? So like, is there a process that your company takes
Yeah,
people through? Like, just give me some hope that there's like a structure, and then my life is going to be great after that.
Um, so full disclosure, I can't make a promise that if you do a certain structure, your life is going to be great. But I can promise you that you can actualize your greatest potential in this world and perhaps in the next world, if there is a next world, which I believe that there is, but you can certainly actualize your greatest potential. And there are lots of clues along the way. I might not know the one thing you could do, but I do know 10 things that you could do that will be very helpful. So one of the things I know for sure that you can do is you can take an assessment. And we have a free assessment that people can use to identify what their strengths are and where their issues and their opportunities for improvements are. And this is their Thrive score, which we want to play to their strengths and compensate for your weaknesses. This is a strengths-based approach, which means that we're looking at not just a bunch of problems and here's solutions. I do not believe in the way of looking at the world as a bunch of problems and solutions, because if you do, then you just see your husband as a problem, and your children as a problem, and your job is a problem, and your weight is a problem, and everything you do is a problem, and here's a solution. That's not a way to live life. That's called gap spotting. Instead, we want to identify where the opportunity and become aware of our thinking. It's our thinking that's creating our experience. It's not our circumstances. And so there is definitely a path forward. And the path forward is based on having an assessment first to identify where am I? And then based on your assessment, we set a plan to move forward based on that. And there's some very specific algorithms and some very specific steps that you can take that's based on your needs and based on your opportunities. And then once you have your plan forward, so then you start knocking them off through small wins. And then we do one piece at a time. We celebrate the small wins one piece at a time. And as you celebrate these small wins, we dance in the dynamic moment together. What does it mean to dance in the dynamic moment? Some people have a checklist and they just check off the boxes. We've done this, we've done this, we've done this. But sometimes things come up and that's where all the work is. And because many times the issue is not the issue. It's your issue with the issue that's the issue.
Yeah.
So it's the issue is not the issue. It's your issue with the issue that's the issue. So for example, Jerry has been late 3 times. And Jerry, finally, I'm waiting for the meeting. And finally, Jerry shows up 10 minutes late. By this time, I blow a gasket. Jerry, where the hell are you? You don't care about anybody except yourself. You're such a selfish jerk. Whoa. You're late all the time. I am not late all the time. I was here last Tuesday, and I was last Thursday. Not just that, I was here on Thursday, and you were the one that was late. And so now we're in an argument. So instead, what we want to do as a leadership, we want to break this up between the facts and my judgments with it. And that's a whole story that talks about being able to break up the difference between my thinking, my interpretation, versus the data, versus what really happened. And many times we're mixing these two things. We're mixing the interpretation and the data. So the data was, you were late 3 times. That's data. There's nothing to argue with it. If I say that you're late all the time, that's interpretation. And now he's going to argue with me. So when you give over some data, make it very, very small. And then when it's interpretation, you can say, look, Jerry, you've been late 3 times. Nothing to argue about. And my interpretation is that you got something else that's going on. I know that you've been having a hard time with your wife. Maybe like you're taking the kids or something. I don't quite know what's going on, but I'm feeling that you're not able to make the meetings in time. And my feeling about it is I'm feeling kind of frustrated. I'm feeling a little scared to mention it to you. What I want is I want to find a time that can work for you and work for me. And if you're not going to be able to make the time, then we cancel the meeting or we find some other way, but we take some sort of action. So that's called a gift. Where I give the data. I give you my interpretation. My interpretation is that you don't really care, or you got something else going on that you're not sharing with me. And GIFT. The F is for feeling. I'm feeling kind of scared to mention it to you. I'm feeling kind of frustrated because I'm waiting for you and I don't feel safe because I don't know if we can start on time. And so I'm being really honest and vulnerable with you. And then T, take action. I just spoke with someone the other day. They said they just argue. They have this boogeyman out there and people are always telling me something in the company. I feel uneasy. And so here's the action I want you to take. I want you to let me know if you can't make the meetings regularly on time, let's talk about it. Is there another time we could do it? Or is there something between the two of us that we need to clear? Or is the mornings not working for you? Or maybe this job isn't the right place at the right time for you. But let's get real. Let's get authentic.
So, I mean, what I love about all this is that really becoming an effective leader and dealing with so many of the issues that are presented means leveling up in your own life, like learning these skills, these communication skills, ways to really make an impact. You've given so much already, John. I want to hone in on one or two last points just because I think that so many leaders face something which you mentioned earlier, which is loneliness. Talk to me a little bit about the loneliness that leaders face.
There's a drawer over here in my manila folder here. So there's a little file, and the file here, see what it says? It says hidden agendas. Hidden agendas. Everybody has a hidden agenda around you. When you're a leader, your accountant has an agenda, your attorney has an agenda, your employees have an agenda, your vendors have an agenda, your partners have an
Wow.
agenda, your family has an agenda, your customers have an agenda, the media has an agenda, your neighbors have an agenda. Everyone has some kind of agenda. And when you're a leader, that means that you have a certain amount of control of power or wealth or information. And so a lot of times people want something from you. It's kind of lonely being in a place, some of the people that I work with, they're very, very, very wealthy. And I know it's like, oh, I should have such problems. You don't want such problems. The more money you have, the more worries you have. The more stuff you have, the more worries you have. And then you start experiencing people like, is he a friend? Is this like for real? Or is it because you want to hang out with some successful because I'm a ladder on your social ladder. I'm one step on your social ladder. I just had one of my clients that just broke up with someone that they were friends with and been working with for years because they felt that they're just stepping on them to get access to other people and that they
Mm.
didn't really care. And when something happened in their life, they weren't really there. So sometimes when people are political relationships means they're not really there. And what is a political relationship? That means I'm doing something not for its own sake, but for a benefit that I'm going to get. So I'm going to help you right now so that you'll help me. So what I was sharing with you is that it's lonely to be a leader and to know that everyone has a hidden agenda. So I start off by saying everyone has a hidden agenda. So part of the solution, part of the take home is to know that everyone's doing their best and to be deeply involved in each relationship as it is, without worry, without anxiety. And so some people have an agenda, and the agenda will come true, will come true. But the secret is to find places and people where you can be totally authentic and totally vulnerable. If you cannot, and you do not find a person or a place where you can be real and authentic with, you will never really grow because people will be yes men. They'll tell you what you really want to hear, and they're not going to give you the honest feedback that you're looking for. And then unless you can have a VIP, a verbal introspection partner where you're verbally introspecting in front of another person, you're never going to be able to really be authentic. And the deep growth comes from being vulnerable and honest instead of trying to keep up a certain image. And if you try to have a conversation where it's inappropriate to be authentic because you're speaking with your competitor and you don't want to tell them all of your trade secrets, that's an appropriate thing to do. If you're married, you don't need to tell your spouse everything that ever happened to you. If recently I was working with someone who, well, I'll tell about myself. Like, you don't have to tell everything all the time. Before I get married, I had girlfriends. And I went home one last time and I opened up a box back in my parents' home and I looked at the pictures of previous girlfriends and then I threw them away and never looked at them or spoke about them or cared about them ever again once I got married, because that's it. Now, shouldn't I tell my wife about all my girlfriends? No, there's no positive benefit to telling her about all that. Am I hiding anything from her? No, I'm not hiding it from her, but it doesn't add anything to the value. I'd much rather invest in that relationship. And so telling everybody everything it's not the right way. On the other hand, to not be authentic in your relationships is not going to show up. So therefore, the most powerful leaders are those that can be authentic and vulnerable in their relationships and know where and how much you can be authentic and vulnerable with different people. But one thing is for sure, make sure that you have one, two, three, five people that you could be really, really authentic with, and that they can give you two things. One, honest feedback, and two, a listening ear without judgment. Without judgment. There's plenty of people that will give you your advice, but to be able to be with another person that will be a witness as opposed to a witness. A witness is just like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And a person that's totally with you is like, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, you shouldn't do that. Oh, that's totally, I can't believe he did that. That's horrible. but a witness is what you're looking for in a confidant. Someone who is, they're witnessing what you're experiencing and they provide a place in your ear. Your ear is like a funnel and it draws out from another person. So when there's another person with you, they're drawing out from you. And so when they can be a witness with you, there's a listening ear that's drawing out from you. And then you're also with them, that you're really with them without giving all the advice and without telling the person, because we have so much of our own wisdom in us. And when we're in a safe environment, in a place where you can share authentically and safely without being judged, then that's where we make our biggest growth. So that's my
Yeah.
recommendation, is to try to find a relationship
Wow.
where you can do that with someone.
Thank you so much. I mean, very resonant and such great advice, and for us to all to take some time and find that group of people. And next week, we'll be speaking about the traps, different leadership traps. Very much looking forward. You shared some of the content with me before, and it was just mind-blowing. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everyone. As we always do, we leave off with one actionable item. And this time, I would like to ask you if you can give some piece of advice to the families of leaders or of owners. They're witnessing their loved one who's so busy, who may not be so present all the time, who has so much on their plate. What do you want to say to their families?
Patience, 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 and create a space first for them to dump all the stuff. Don't criticize because a person's thinking about their business, but help them. Help them by providing a space. Hey, Jerry, it looks like you got a lot on your mind right now. Tell me what's up, what's going on. And right now I'm here for you and I want to hear what's going on. Because paradoxically, if you will make sure that your partner's needs are met, then paradoxically your needs will be met. If each of us are so focused on making sure that my needs are met, then I'm never going to get my own needs met because the other person is working on their needs. But paradoxically, when I focus on making sure that your needs are met, then you really care about making my needs met. If I make you into a queen, then you make me into a king. And so my job as a spouse is to make my wife, who I love dearly, as my queen. Then she starts acting like a queen. And then she wants a husband who's a king. And so she wants to think about, how do I make you a king? And so I don't expect her to bring me a pipe and make me dinner, but it's going to happen naturally. So the first thing is, if you're a spouse or if you're in their family, the greatest gift that you can give to them is a little bit of space and time. And it might not be right when they're ready to do it. So it'd be like, I noticed that you're frustrated. Well, tell me about your day. What was hard for you? What did you overcome? Can you share anything with me? You care about my day? Yeah, yeah. And then actually give them some time so they can vomit out a bit. Yeah, and then ask the magic question, is there more? Well, yeah, there actually is a little bit more. So now they've like, if you're in a fight and you let a person, I used to do that with my mom. When she yelled at me, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're so right. Well, don't ever do that again. No, you're right. I absolutely won't. I'm really sorry. That must have really hurt. Yes, don't do that. Okay. There's no more wind left. So too, if you let the person in your family have some space to put it out, then it's like, okay, it's out. And let them know and this comes up in the future again, I want to let you know that we can talk about it. And what I want for you right now is try to be here. And because here's what's going on. Is there anything else that you need? So here's the question. Is there anything else that you need so you can be present with us? Many times when I facilitate, one of the first things we do, is there any business we have to take care of? If you have to drink soda, make sure you got soda. I don't like you drinking soda, but if you're going to drink it, now's the time to do it. If you got to go to the bathroom, it's okay to get up and go to the bathroom. If you're going to be expecting a phone call, no problem. Just let us know it's going to be a phone call. If you're going to have to leave early, no problem. If you're expecting a call from one of your kids, no problem. Anything that we need to take care of first. Is there something going on between us? So clear the decks, and then you can move into your next chapter of your life together.
Wow. Thank you. That was fantastic. Looking so forward to speaking to you again next time. Thank you so much for all this
Okay.
valuable insight.
Thanks, Evie. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Thanks for listening. Our mission at Turning Point is to help leaders actualize their potential. And we know there are a lot of things in the way of that. The best way to make significant progress is by making a plan. And the first step to making a plan is understanding where we are, what our potential is, what's holding us back, and how we can play to our strengths and compensate for our weaknesses. We've created an awesome assessment that helps you identify all of these things and sets you on the path to living with joy, making more money, and increasing your productivity. We love this assessment and know you will too. Take it at myturningpoint.com/quiz. That's myturningpoint.com/quiz. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.